What's the difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental? Okay, the difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental is just basically the duration of time the tenant is actually going to stay in the property, or the guest, if it's a short-term rental. So the difference is for a long-term rental, you usually typically have somebody that's going to stay in the property a year or longer. They're going to contract with you on a lease if you're an investor on a property, and they're going to stay there for a year or longer. Now, a short-term rental, you have a shorter duration. It's usually 30 days or less. But I have seen short-term rentals going up to 6 months at a time, 3 to 6 months. So it's all based on the area and where they're at. But long-term rentals have longer durations, short-term rentals have shorter durations. Now, which one's better per se? It's all about what you have on your mind that you want to accomplish. So for me, I like a mixture of both. I like asset allocation. I'm really bullish on short-term rentals, but I do like asset allocation. So let me explain what I mean. I like asset allocation because of long-term rentals gives me stability. I have properties in different areas across Atlanta and its suburbs, and the properties are on long-term leases, and month in, month out, I get that money. As long as the tenants are paying, I have that money coming in, and that income is always accounted for. But with short-term rentals, you are typically a seasonal business, a seasonal property. Now your income is going to fluctuate up and down, kind of like the stock market. One month you'll make a certain amount, the next month you may make less, and then the next month you may make more. So it's based on the festivals and the seasonality of the area, what's going on in the city that you have the short-term rental on. And then you also got to deal with possibilities of local municipalities coming in and shutting short-term rentals down or starting to regulate them by asking for pricey short-term rental permits and licensing. So a lot come into play. Right now, short-term rentals are actually a risky business because a lot of municipalities, even though VRBO has been around since the 90s, Airbnb took short-term rentals by storm all these years ago, like 10 years ago. And next thing you know, all of the mom and pops start coming out and for the first 5 to 7 years. And then over the last 3 to 4 years, you've seen the institutional investors come in and incorporate short-term rentals into their portfolios. So it's changing the demographics in cities all across America. In fact, actually the world. So municipalities, some municipalities are enjoying short-term rentals because it's elevating their taxes and bringing more taxes into the city, which is helping the city in general. And some people are just staying away from short-term rentals. So you got to be really careful. So I am bullish on short-term rentals because typically you make 3.5 to 4 times the amount of a long-term rental income each month. And you're going to make that monthly. So I'm really bullish on it for the income, but for the long-lasting stability of a short-term rental, things can change. In fact, this year alone, I've had 5 rental properties that are short-term rental this year specifically. My Savannah, Georgia, which is kind of like a Southern California area, coastal side of Georgia on the Atlantic Ocean, that property has had a beating in income. And I lost big time. I lost like $12,000, $15,000 this year, something like that. And I was looking at it, I'm like, well, I've got appreciation. I'm not gonna take a beating. And it seems like it could be a minute for the vaccine to come out. Who knows when people are confident and wanting to travel more in a metropolitan area like Savannah again. So I'm just gonna sell it. I'm not emotional. I did a 1031 tax-free exchange and I'm rolling the profits into the property, the replacement property that I'm buying next. And I actually just sold that yesterday and I've had it under contract for 30 days and I'm replacing that with another short-term rental. So in short-term rentals, pandemics can change the nature of your business. Municipalities can change the nature of your business. Regulation, government interference, that stuff can change the dynamics of your short-term rental. But with long-term rentals actually have stability. Yes, you did have some people not pay their rents this year because of COVID, but for the most part, most people did pay their rents. Most people knew that they wanted to stay and they weren't going to play any games. And despite what I saw in the news, my experience has been really, really good this year with long-term rentals. Short-term rentals, out of all my short-term rentals have done really, really well. But that one specifically, I had to chop off the cutting board and get rid of it and scoop it to the side and trash it out. The portfolio. I guess that was crazy, right? Crazy analogy, but anyways, I'm getting a better property moving on with my life. But the difference between the long-term rental and short-term rental is basically what you want to accomplish. Now, what I like about both of these types of property is real estate always appreciates over time. You're always going to see appreciation no matter whether you get a long-term rental or a short-term rental. Historically, real estate goes up. Think about prices 50 years ago. Guess what? Prices are up. Think about prices 10 years ago. Guess what? Prices will go up again, just like it did over the last 10 years. Now, you may see a slight dip up and down in real estate, but traditionally and statistically, real estate goes up. So I'm really bullish on real estate in general. Long-term rentals are great, short-term rentals are great. And then on top of that, you have 99% of the times you're going to get a mortgage on these properties. These mortgages are going to be paid down from your long-term rental tenants or your short-term rental guest. And as you're making money each month, month in, month out, you're actually paying down that mortgage by paying your payments. And they're paying for it for you. Now, the kicker on a short-term rental, what I like about a short-term rental is you have a place to stay for yourself. If it's a vacation short-term rental, you have somewhere to go travel to. That is a place that you can call your own vacation home. So I really like that for that retrospect. But with long-term rentals, you have that stability. And it's just a perfect allocation to your asset class of owning real estate long-term. Outside of that, you have tax advantages for long-term rentals that you wouldn't have with short-term rentals necessarily. Long-term rentals are treated as passive income. Now, short-term rentals, if they're throwing off massive profits, they're treated as hotels, which will actually be taxed as active income because you're into hotel business, you're into hospitality business. So there's a whole lot to think of when you're going into each one of these, but it's all about what you want and it's all about how you want to maneuver. But I highly recommend having both. Another thing that I like about long-term and short-term rentals is not only do you have the cash flow that's coming in, month out, you're putting more money in your bank account, you actually have a bank account that is like an ATM over time. So the longer you pay down these properties and your guests or your long-term tenants are paying them down, now let's just say you built up $100,000 in each of these properties, now you can strip equity. You can become a real estate stripper, strip that equity and go ahead and put that into your pocket. And the best part is it's tax-free. It's not an income. It's not income at all. It is equity. You're pulling this out, bank gives it to you. It's your equity. And as long as you don't sell that property, you don't have to pay taxes on it. That's your equity. And even though your basis is here and you pay it down, your property, you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's great. I highly recommend whether you're investing, you're getting started, or maybe you're a fix flipper and you're a wholesaler, but you want to create long-term wealth. Do it through long-term rental investing if you're excited about it. Do it through short-term rentals if you're excited about it. It's all up to you and the asset allocation you want. I personally do a mixture of both. Actually, I practice all 4 real estate investing pillars, wholesaling and fix and flips, long-term rentals and short-term rentals. It's all about what you want and the lifestyle you want and how much you want to work, how much you don't want to work. Only you can ask that question. Only you can ask that question. So I hope that makes sense. If you have an opinion, go ahead and comment below. I actually read all the comments and respond to them. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want more REI Society information.